Most people spend 30 or 40 years doing everything right. Saving, investing, running the numbers, building the nest egg, and then they finally retire. And somewhere between year 1 and year 5, something goes seriously wrong. Not with the money. The money's fine. Something else. Something nobody warned them about. Something that doesn't show up on any spreadsheet, any retirement calculator, or any financial plan their advisor ever built them. And here's what's wild. The people this happens to, they had plenty of money. 6 figures, 7 figures, house paid off, Social Security coming in. By every traditional measure, they won the retirement game. And they still ended up carrying regret so heavy, they'd trade every dollar in their account to go back and do things differently. I've been collecting these stories. Real people, real retirements, real regrets. And what blows me away every single time is this. Different people, different backgrounds, different net worth, same 7 regrets, over and over and over, like a pattern nobody talks about, but everybody eventually lives through. So if you're anywhere in your 50s or 60s right now, you need to hear these 7 things. Because the people sharing them, they're walking the exact same road you're on. They're just further ahead. And every single one of them wishes somebody had sat them down and said this before they retired, not after. Now stay with me to number 7. Because number 7 is the one I hear more than any other. It's the one that hits hardest. And honestly, it's the one that changed how I think about retirement entirely. My name's Charles, and this is the retirement conversation most people don't have until it's too late. Real quick, this is educational content, not financial advice. I'm not a licensed advisor. Always talk to a qualified professional for your specific situation. If retirement is anywhere on your radar, hit subscribe right now. We're building a community of people who refuse to learn these lessons the hard way. And drop a comment below, which of these 7 are you most worried about? Because this isn't a lecture, this is a conversation, and I want to hear from you. Regret number 1, and this one surprises people because it sounds so simple. The regret goes like this: I waited too long. You've run the numbers honestly, probably 100 times, and the math actually works. You could retire, the money is there, but you don't pull the trigger. You tell yourself, just 1 more year. Let me hit this number first. Let me feel a little more comfortable. 2027, latest, 2028, then I'm done. And then 1 more year becomes 2, 2 becomes 5, and suddenly you're 68, 69, and something in your life has changed. Maybe it's your health. Maybe it's your spouse's health. Maybe that energy you were saving for all the adventures, the travel, the hiking, the doing everything you sacrificed for, it just isn't there the way you imagined it would be. Someone told me something once that never left me. He said, I spent 5 extra years at a job I didn't love, saving money I didn't need, for a retirement I now can't fully enjoy. 5 years, gone. Not because the math was wrong. The math was fine. It was fear. Fear of running out of money even when every number said he wouldn't. Fear of losing his identity because for 40 years that job told him exactly who he was. Fear of the unknown, waiting on the other side of that last day. Here's what I need you to hear. In all my years talking to people who are deep in retirement, late 70s, early 80s, I have never once heard someone say they wished they'd worked longer. Never. Not one single time. But the opposite? I've heard that more times than I can count. Comment below if you keep moving your own retirement date back. Because that pattern has a name, and it's not caution. It's fear dressed up as responsibility. And if that hits close to home, keep watching. Because regret number 2 is what happens when that same fear follows you into retirement. Regret number 2. This one gets under my skin because it happens to the people who did everything right financially. The regret sounds like this: I let fear steal the first 5 years of my retirement. Here's what happens. This person saved diligently their whole career, built a real nest egg, finally made the jump, and then they spent the first 5 years of retirement absolutely terrified to spend any of the money they spent a lifetime building. The Europe trip gets delayed. The big family vacation they always talked about gets delayed. Helping the kids with a house, fixing up their own place, doing anything that moves money out of the account, delayed. And the whole time, they're watching their portfolio like a hawk, refreshing it constantly, white-knuckling every single market dip, losing sleep over fluctuations they have zero control over, treating their net worth like a scoreboard instead of what it actually is, a tool. Then, 10 years later, they look back and realize something that breaks them. They actually had more money than when they started. The portfolio kept growing even while they were withdrawing. They could have said yes to all of it years earlier, but fear was the one making every decision, and fear said no every single time. Here's what most people don't realize. For a huge number of retirees, the biggest risk isn't overspending, it's underspending. I know that sounds backwards when you've spent your whole life being told save more, spend less, be careful, but there's a concept I need you to understand. The go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. Your 60s and early 70s, those are your go-go years. You're active, you're healthy enough, you've got the energy. That's the window. That is when you're supposed to be doing the things you spent 40 years postponing. Then come the slow-go years, still living well, just doing less. And eventually the no-go years, when your world gets quieter and smaller, whether you plan for it or not. The tragedy I see over and over, and I mean constantly, is people living like they're already in the slow-go phase when they're smack in the middle of the go-go years. Wasting the most active, most capable window of their entire retirement because they never gave themselves permission to spend what they saved. A couple wanted to take a 4-generation family cruise. Grandparents, kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. Talked about it for years, kept saying next year, finally booked it at 75, and the wife said something that stopped me cold. That trip was the highlight of our entire retirement. I just wish we'd done it 10 years ago when everyone could still do everything together. 10 years. They had the money. They had the health. Fear kept them home. Drop a comment if spending your own money feels harder than saving it ever did. Because that is way more common than anyone talks about. And honestly, regret number 3 is the reason the go-go years matter even more than you think. Regret number 3. Now this is the one that's actually irreversible, and that's what makes it so gut-wrenching to hear. The regret is, I didn't take care of my health when I still had the chance. See, I can help you fix a tax mistake. You can rebalance a portfolio any day of the week, but nobody can give you back the mobility you lost because you kept putting off that knee surgery for 5 years. Nobody can undo the heart disease that built up from 30 years of ignoring what you ate. Here's the pattern. Your whole career, you tell yourself, I'll get in shape someday. When I have more time, I'll focus on my health. When I retire, then I'll take care of myself. Then retirement comes. You finally got the time, but your body already accumulated 30 or 40 years of being put last. And now, the hiking you dreamed about? Painful. Walking European cobblestones for a full day? Maybe impossible. Getting down on the floor to play with grandkids? You need help getting back up. I'm going to say this straight, because you need to hear it. Your health is your retirement plan. Period. Full stop. I don't care what the account balance says. If your body is broken down and your energy is gone, the money is basically decoration. You can have $2 million and not be physically capable of doing a single thing you saved it for. The years between 60 and 75, that's your golden window, young enough to still move, old enough to finally have the freedom. That window does not stay open forever, and it closes faster than anyone expects. Treat your health the same way you treated your investment portfolio. Consistently, seriously, long term. Get the checkups, do the physical therapy. Move your body every single day, because your retirement depends on it every bit as much as your 401k does. Now, regrets 1 through 3 are about you, what you do with your time, your money, your body. But regret number 4, that's about the people around you. And this is where it starts to really hurt. Regret number 4. This is the one nobody sees coming. The regret sounds like, I lost my friends and I didn't even notice it happening. When you're working, social connection is basically automatic, built into your schedule without you thinking about it. You've got colleagues, your lunch crew, work friends, a team. Human connection just shows up every day as part of the job. Then you retire, and it goes quiet. Real quiet. Those work friendships fade faster than you'd ever expect. Not because anyone did anything wrong, just because the thing holding you together walked out the door with you. Your lunch crew is still working. They don't have time for Tuesday morning coffee. And if you didn't build friendships outside of work somewhere along the way, you can wake up one day and realize that's the way that you can do all the things that comes with the rest. Here's a statistic that should stop you in its tracks. Social isolation is as dangerous to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Not 5, 15. Every single day. That's what loneliness does to a human body over time. A successful executive retired at 63. 2 years later, he told someone, "I've never been this lonely in my entire life." His wife had her circle, her things, her people. He had nothing outside of work. And he said one line that I think about constantly. I didn't realize I had outsourced my entire social life to my job. Outsourced his entire social life to his job. Because when you're working, relationships just fall into your lap. You don't have to build them intentionally. But in retirement, you have to go build them on purpose. Show up to things consistently until people know your name and notice when you're not there. Build that social life before you retire. Join things now. Make standing plans. Find a hobby that puts you around real humans on a regular basis. And if nobody's inviting you anywhere, become the one doing the inviting. Comment below if this one scares you. Because it should. And it gets way less attention than it deserves. Speaking of things people avoid, regret number 5 is about one specific conversation that could save your entire family or destroy it. Regret number 5. This one tears families apart, and it is entirely preventable. The regret is, I should have had the hard conversations sooner. Here's what happens. Parents create an estate plan, write a will, set up a trust. Make thoughtful, careful decisions about who gets what and why. Put it all in documents. Put the documents in a drawer and never say a single word about any of it to anyone because they're trying to avoid conflict. Stay private. Figure things will sort themselves out when they're gone. But here's what actually happens. Kids get blindsided. One sibling finds out they're getting less than another. The parents had completely reasonable explanations. Maybe one child needed more financial help over the years. Maybe one's already financially stable. But those reasons were never spoken out loud. So now you've got, I guess mom always loved you more. You've got lawyers, siblings who stop speaking, bitterness that lasts decades, not because the decisions were wrong, because they were never explained. And here's what really gets me about this one. Staying silent doesn't prevent conflict. It just schedules it for after you're gone, when you're not there to explain, when you're not there to hold the room together. When it's too late to fix anything. A woman spent her whole life saying she didn't want to burden her kids. Then she had a stroke and couldn't communicate. Her 3 kids had completely different ideas about what she would have wanted. They ended up fighting, blaming each other, fracturing in ways that didn't need to happen. She spent her entire life trying not to be a burden. Her silence became the biggest burden she could have left them. Have the conversation, now, while you're here, while you can explain your thinking, while you can answer their questions and hold their hands through the hard parts. That's not morbid. That's one of the greatest gifts you will ever give your family. Now, if regret number 5 is about protecting your family, Regret number 6 is about protecting yourself, and this one catches people completely off guard. Regret number 6. This one surprises people who thought they had everything figured out. The regret goes, I never really found anything to replace work. You know how this plays out. Someone works 35, 40 years, counting down to retirement the whole time. Finally arrives and it's incredible. Golf, sleeping in, traveling, long lunches with nowhere to be. Feels like an endless vacation. And then, about 18 months in, something shifts. The novelty wears off. The days start blurring together. You wake up on a random Tuesday and you genuinely cannot think of a single thing you're supposed to do with the next 16 hours. And that feeling, empty, aimless, kind of hollow, starts sitting on you heavier than you expected. That's the retirement identity crisis nobody prepares you for. Work gave you structure, purpose, a reason to get up. A sense that someone somewhere needed what you brought every single day, and retirement takes all of that away at once. No transition, no gradual step down, just gone. An engineer retired and 6 months later said, I'm miserable. Why did I even retire? When he finally figured out what was wrong, he realized it wasn't retirement he hated. He missed solving problems. That's who he was. So he started volunteering with Habitat for Humanity. Got back to building things, figuring things out, using his brain the way it was wired. And he said something I think about all the time. I was so focused on retiring from something that I never thought about what I was retiring to. Retiring from versus retiring to. That's the whole game right there. The happiest people I know in retirement aren't the ones with the most free time. They're the ones who found something that genuinely needs them. Something that pulls them out of bed on a random Tuesday with a real reason to show up. So answer this honestly. What gets you out of bed on a Tuesday when nobody's making you? If you don't have a real answer yet, that's okay. But start figuring it out now, before you retire, because purpose doesn't just appear, you have to go build it. Drop a comment and tell me what that thing is for you, or what you're still trying to figure out. Because this community is full of people working through the exact same question, and your answer might be the one that helps somebody else find theirs. All right. Now, regret number 7, the one I told you about at the very beginning, the one I hear more than any other, the one that changed how I look at retirement completely. Regret number 7. The regret sounds like this. I thought we had more time. I know. Sounds simple, almost obvious, but let me tell you what it actually looks like when someone says it. The trip that kept getting pushed to next year. The relationship they meant to repair but never picked up the phone. The grandkids who were small and then somehow they were in college. The spouse who was right there every single morning and then one morning wasn't. The someday that never came. Because someday was never a real day on any calendar. Here's the financial truth of this that nobody talks about enough. There is an actuarial table somewhere with your name on it. I'm not being dark, I'm being honest. Because money, to some extent, can be rebuilt, earned back, recovered over time. But time, not 1 second of it comes back. Time is the one resource in your entire financial picture that is completely, totally, irreversibly non-renewable. Let me tell you about a couple. Married 48 years. They had this trip planned, Italy. Planned it for years. Something always came up. The timing wasn't perfect. Next year would be better. And then she got the diagnosis. They never took the trip. And he said, sitting there with everything he'd ever saved still sitting in those accounts, he said, we had the money the whole time. We just didn't have the courage to spend it. Not the money, the courage. Because actually living the life you saved for, booking the trip, making the call, spending what you built, doing the thing you keep pushing to someday, that takes real courage. It means accepting that right now is actually the moment. That the perfect time isn't hiding around some corner. that the people you love are here right now. And right now is the only time that has ever actually existed. The retirees with the fewest regrets figured out something most people don't figure out until it's too late. It takes courage to live today. Not next year, not when the market recovers, not when you feel more secure, today. So here's what I want you to do. Not someday, this week. Before this video is a memory, write down the one thing you keep meaning to do. The trip, the call, the visit, the conversation. Give it a real date. Put it on an actual calendar. Because as long as it lives in someday, it doesn't exist. The second it hits a calendar, it's real. This is why this community exists. Not just to talk numbers and 4% rules and withdrawal strategies. We're here for the real retirement conversations, the ones about time, about people, about what actually matters when you look back at the life you built. Hit subscribe if this hit home. Share this video with someone in their 50s or 60s who needs to hear these 7 things before they become their own regrets. And drop a comment. Which of these 7 hit you the hardest? Which one are you already working on? Which one are you going to tackle this week? Because we learn from each other here. That's how this works. Your story might be the exact thing someone else needs to hear today. I'll see you in the next one. Welcome to the community.